I was speaking with a client the other day and we were talking about their results from emails. They're actually doing really, really well with their ads and their organic content, but where they were falling down was their extraction of revenue from emails. Now, this is off the back of our marketing triangle strategy, okay? So when I talk through my paid programs, my ecom blueprint, and up-level mastermind programs that are designed to help ecom brands scale to record revenue months, we talk about these concepts. So anything to do with marketing and where we can create a holistic marketing strategy that really leverages off itself is the marketing triangle. So it's three considerations. One is our organic efforts, our organic content. The second one is our ads, okay, so meta ads, for example. And the third one is our email database. So we need them all working in tandem because someone will see an email or they'll see an ad and then they'll see your organic and then they'll, get an email flow or something and then they'll go and buy. It's very, I guess it's a bit of a ping pong experience when it comes to most people buying. Some will see what they like from an ad, they'll go and buy it. That happens for sure. But it's more common that they're going to see a range of marketing stimulus or marketing efforts from us. And so it's really important that all those 3 points of that triangle are considered and worked on, right? To be able to capture as many sales as we absolutely possibly can. And so, as I said before, this client the ads were working well, the organic content was crushing it. And they said, I still just can't get sales from my emails. And so we had to look into their Klaviyo account. They had about 1,000 email addresses or contacts on their list. And we said, okay, cool. That's not too bad for the size that you're at, doing 2, 3, 4K a month or something. And then I had a look at their email campaigns and their open rate was about 15%. Now, if you think about 15%, that means that 85% of people are not even reading your email. And so when you put that in context, that's like, that's pretty easy math, I guess. 1,000, you've got 850 people not reading the email, 150. So point number 1 is that not enough people were opening it for a start. Looking at the actual stats of clicks, okay, so you go open clicks and revenue, that's typically what we look at. The clicks were actually pretty good. It was about 4% or something. So, you had about 8 people or something clicking through, maybe 6 to 8 people, sorry. And then you had about 3 people buy from that. And so the data, once they opened the email, was very reasonable. A decent enough percentage of people, that's not a high volume obviously, but a decent enough percentage of people were opening. And then a decent amount of people were actually converting. It was like a 50% conversion rate from click. So fantastic stats. Then we obviously had to look at, well, the bottleneck is obviously the open, because if we can double that, if we can get that from 15 to 30%, then obviously 300 people are opening it. Then, how good's my math here? Like then 15 to 20 people are going through clicking. And then you're getting like 10 sales from that, or, 6, right? 6 or 8. So that's where the real bottleneck, it wasn't, I can't get sales from my database. It was, I can't get opens from my database. And so that's where the conversation went. And we started to basically say, well, look, things are getting more difficult with sender inboxes, right? People are getting a lot more, inboxes are getting a lot stricter to get through to the primaries. And there's a couple of things that we can really do to ensure that we get into the primary as often as possible. Now, I must say that once you kind of get flagged by, your domain or your sender score is diminishing, it is quite difficult and a lengthy process to get it back up to a good capacity. But I've seen extreme cases where we're able to do so. So that's the good news. The second part is it's also very personal. So if I sign up to someone's email database today, it's really my experience today is going to determine my experience in the future. So for example, your welcome email, when someone signs up to your welcome series, or rather your pop-up, if that goes to my spam or promotions and I don't go and retrieve it, then the chances your next email are going to the same folders is very high. Versus if I go and retrieve it and I put in my primary and then I've said to that sender domain or my inbox that, I want to receive information from this brand, then you've given yourself a good chance that you're going to get it in the next primary box. Not every time, but you're giving yourself at least a good chance. And so this whole process needs to be really well thought out. As I said, even more than ever, like it's probably the last 6 months that it's been really extreme with people's emails, meaning businesses' emails, going to the promotions folder or spam folders even. And so that means that from the very first interaction, we need to consider it. Now, what basically the work that I've done, the research that I've done, the experience that I've had, there's really a couple of things that are important for emails and getting them into the primaries. The first one is what that reputation is, right? How basically clear, concise, clean is your email database? How good is your sender score? Now you can see all these these data sets within your Klaviyo account. You can see the health. You can see benchmarks against people in your industry. You can have a look at what yours is, and I definitely recommend you go ahead and do that. Okay, if your account needs to be, let's call it, repaired, there's tools within Klaviyo now that will help you go and do that. It's basically every time you go and send an email, it asks you, do you want to use the reparation tool, which is basically sending to your warm audience, your engaged audience versus like your really cold database section. All right, that will get your open rates up for sure, but also build your reputation so that the likelihood of people coming through your database will have a more positive experience. Okay, so that's really important that our account is considered and that we repair things and clean out the database, clean the dead wood as often as necessary to keep those scores up. Because what we're at currently will determine, as I say, where the next email gets sent to that next subscriber. Okay, first thing is our account. The second thing then becomes around the email itself. Okay, so one thing that we consider is formatting, or one thing rather, inboxes receiving your email is formatting. So if your email looks like a poster, looks like a magazine, looks really overly designed or overly promotional, where do you think it's going to go? Straight to promotions. If it has sale, it's going to go straight to promotions. And so those first couple of emails, especially from the subscribing of the email to the campaign that's being sent, need to be really well thought out. We need to think about what an inbox would like to receive. And people often talk about, and I'll talk about it now, is that your emails more often than not should look like they're from a friend. Meaning subject lines aren't crazy promotional. Actual content isn't crazy promotional. You can test this with yourself. You can test this with, test inboxes or dummy inboxes about, if I change the subject line, what happens? If I change the body text, what happens? And you'll see, I've done this myself even recently, that it goes to primary versus the promotional just by changing something in the body. Now, the formatting is like I just mentioned, important. The second thing is the language and links. Okay, so you don't want emails to have heavy links because there's a certain proportional ratio that is promotional or raising a flag that is promotional. Okay, so minimize the amount of links that you can have in it, minimize the amount of sales terminology. Now, I would honestly just recommend using ChatGPT and saying, here's what I actually want to write, but how can I actually change the terminology or the structure of this email to make sure it gets into the primary inbox, including subject lines and body. Okay, and even ask it, how many links can I have or whatever, because it's very much a percentage basis, not necessarily like a straight number. You can only have 5 links, for example, that's, going to avoid the spam folder, for example. So you need to be really considerate of that. So when it comes to the actual email itself, which is part 2, there's the format and then there's the actual content. Now, when it comes to that content, what I'm saying to my clients at the moment is use a bit of an 80-20, meaning 80% we're a softer approach. We are trying to just get into people's primary inboxes to obviously give ourselves the best chance to get that open. And then the 20% can be a bit more promotional, can be a bit more salesy, end of financial year, Black Friday, etc. We're going to want to say that a sale's on, obviously. Okay, but what we're doing is we're basically buying that good faith in the 80% periods of time so that we can actually get into their inboxes. All right, so this is just a super crucial thing that I want to make you aware of, because I'll be honest, like when I started out for the first few years in entrepreneurship, I just didn't understand the power of email marketing and the importance of these little 1%ers here, because we just go on and assume it's like, oh, I can keep going and whatever, but you might have seen your open rates and your click rates diminish if you hadn't been paying attention to this or reviewed this lately. And so hopefully this is a bit of a prompt for you to go ahead and do so. And then, as I say, think about the actual journey. Think about the journey that people go on. Like, are people going to go and look at your promotion and spam? Not really. Probably never. Okay, they really even know you exist. So think about what process you want them to take. So that might be from the pop-up, go and direct them back to the inbox. It might be, getting them to respond to the email. Right, that will definitely fire up their inbox to say, yeah, this is important information. People do that in post-purchase. Hey, just want to confirm your address is correct. Yes, no, otherwise, right? There's certain things that we can do that I recommend you do have a look at to get people to, give them the best chance that your email is going to be received in the primary inbox more often than not. So I just wanted to emphasize that this is such a crucial part. It should make up, honestly, a minimum of 1/3 of your sales per month, if not more, especially during sales periods. If not more. So this is where my client, he was struggling. He was doing really, really well, but in a period of offers and sales, he needs that inbox or that email marketing to be firing. It recoups a lot of our profits. It obviously gets through to the people that we want to speak to versus, erratic ads and erratic kind of social content. It's lot more, what's the right word? Like a lot more unpredictable if they're going to see it or not, essentially. Whereas an email inbox, we know it gets directly sent to them. So that's really what I want to emphasize is we have so much power in our email. Okay, you need to continually be building it, but as importantly, we need to make sure that even if we're starting at small numbers, we're continuing to condition and let's call it abide by the rules. Otherwise, we're going to get heavily penalized where our emails just don't get delivered to the right inbox. A lot of them go to spam or promotions and we just don't get seen. Therefore, we have no leverage and conclude it doesn't work. When there's things in between that we can be doing as business owners and we should be to make sure we have the best opportunity to extract as many sales as we possibly can. So look, I hope this was valuable for you. If it was, I'd love a like, love a subscribe. If you want to know more about how we help e-commerce brands, then click on the link below, check it out. But other than that, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching till the end, and I'll catch you in the next one.